Phynne Belle is our headliner, our special guest now. Phynne Belle is a San Francisco Bay Area poet and host of PGN's The Poet's Lighthouse, as well as the Phynncabulary podcast on Spotify. She has recently had her poetry featured in Postal Magazine's inaugural issue. Beginnings has pieces included in 2 poetry anthologies this year, Sinew, 10 Years of Poetry in the Brew, and the Bronx Memoir Poetry Anthology, Volume 5. Phynne has 1 poetry collection out titled Some Days Here, Author House Publishing. You can also find her hosting weekly online her weekly online open mic every Thursday. Phynne posts regularly on both vocal and medium under the name Trisha de Jesus Gutierrez, if I've said that right. She's
You can use that, Tate.
she is passionate about crafting events and programs that make the literary arts, poetry in particular, accessible widely. Phynne used to be a superhero of creatures big and small in a past life. And I'll drop her links in the chat. You can follow her on Instagram and Twitter, and to connect with her in more ways, there's a link tree. I'll drop those in the chat for you in that next 10 seconds. Everyone in meeting. Paste. Send. Over to you, Phynne.
Thanks so much, Anne. Let me take my big face off of here. It is such a pleasure to be here. I wanted to thank Anne and Rafe and Tracy for inviting me. This honestly became a home for me, during the pandemic. This was one of the online open mics that I had, found on Eventbrite. I was, searching. It happened to be in the UK, in Coventry, and I just fell in love with all the people who frequent it, the whole vibe. So it's just an honor. I can't say enough that I was invited to feature here. So this is for Anne, and it's for everybody in the room. Before we start, take a deep breath first. Deep breath in, and then let it out. So I have started 2022 with not resolutions, but 4 simple promises to myself with which to begin. Number 1, I am going to be in the present and be present. Number 2, I'm going to do my best. Not playing a comparison game, not doing someone else's best. I'm going to do my best. Number 3, very important. I'm going to tell people in my life that I love them while I can. And now is always a good time. Who knows if we have any claim at all on tomorrow? Number 4, and this goes back to how we started this. I'm going to breathe and keep things simple. If I forget that I'm supposed to keep things simple, I simply go back to breathing 1 breath in, 1 breath out, until I remember. I think that's a good place to start. So, contemplating on keeping things simple, I decided that I won't rack my brain to come up with this brilliant plan that involves a theme for my set today, or that involves a design where I navigate through my poems that I want to share. And I leave you in awe at the end of my share, because the storyline, the transitions knitted in between, cause the narrative to be this epic connected tale from beginning to end, beginning with a question and ending with a suitable answer. I want to share a bit of my life with you through my words. Relaying a precise timeline isn't being truthful to how life runs itself. Life isn't predictable. It isn't linear. It goes off in its own burrows and whorls. And anytime we breathe or move or think, we alter the direction of where we are headed even more. Life is a big, beautiful mess. And we are the ones who are given the pleasure of experiencing it. The cosmos, the universe knows somehow that we are up to each change, each conundrum. So my simple plan today is to share from my body of poems pieces that spoke to me in the moment. The ones that said, pick me, or said a fevered yes, jumped out of the bunch because I needed to remember the lesson, the wisdom that first brought them about. More than anything, the ones that had no other reason to be picked than that they make my heart joyful to see them. To breathe in and swirl their words in my mouth and feel how they tickle my inner cheeks and my tongue, wanting to springboard off and tickle ears before they become part of the air. I hope my words today connect my heart to yours. I hope they stick and make us all kin, poetry kin, even if just for one suspended minute. So I have made it something of a tradition to start off most of my sets in the past year with this particular poem. And it continues to fill me with light and hope. It continues to be an anting, a word charm that I take with me. It's called June bugs. I want to cut my heart out of my chest, be my own offering to you because you would have me, because you look at me with eyes that want to nourish all of me and fill in my gaps. I inhaled the starlight that got caught in my hair as we ran like little children. In total abandonment, we ran through skies, turning their lights off one by one. Last flicker of lilac and rose as they feigned sleep. We ran through wet sand that nipped our toes and tried to swallow our feet. We ran, meeting waves, trusting even if we could not see them in the dark. And then we stopped, astonished, as the world around our calves bioluminesced. I exhaled your starlight. I exhaled it regretfully because it was fire in my belly. June bugs kissed your drooping eyelids. So because the sea is now playing around in my mind, teasing, another poem that calls to me as much as a water mother calls out to a water daughter, as a loving mother always calls out to a lost daughter. This one is called Dikya. Mama, do you see me waving? Do you see my face shining, bobbing sa ibabaw ng dagat? I sink my toes into the sand. The jellyfish, ang mga dikya, tickle my calves. I sink down to where the curve of your belly rumbles. My throat is dry. I hope it's nothing. I won't say what it is. I won't say anything. Back to 2022 promises, but adding in a 2019 frame of mind. Back then, I was scattered beside myself, people pleasing, bearing the weight of what other people thought, allowing that to dictate my actions and my behavior. So yes, let's re-add this old promise. It needs to be dusted off, I think. It wants to be heeded again. So for this one, I want you all to unmute, please, and repeat this along with me. First, I want you to listen and digest. I am the only tenant in this gorgeous, brilliant abode. I will not allow anyone to take up space rent-free inside my head. And now I want you to unmute and say this along with me. I am the only tenant in this gorgeous, brilliant abode.
I am the only tenant.
In this gorgeous, brilliant
Brilliant
abode.
abode. I will not allow anyone to take up space rent-free inside my head. I will not allow anyone to take up space
rent-free in my head.
inside my head. Renting space, renting life, renting love. There are phrases that get lobbied about, so quickly absorbed into the lexicon that we are prone to dismiss it, or if it is lucky, relegated to a back pocket position in our repertoire for future witty repartee. Don't allow anyone to rent space in your head without your consent. Or something that sounds vaguely like that. Sounds, pretty clever, enough to be a postcard one-liner or the italicized portion in those bitty inspirational books you find at the gift section of Barnes & Noble. But words are such impish, restless companions. Perhaps it was the upheaval of a week's workload or the rare serenity of the weekend that had followed at that time. But that exact phrase jumped up and ambushed my brain last weekend, and it refused to be ignored. I am important today, it said. Heed me, there's a lesson there. It wheedled incessantly in my ear. Words and events arrive in my life and form associations, easy and obvious, or sometimes more contrived to fit its bulk into the script that was just written. This is when they click and they make themselves front and center in my life's moving picture. They become the unquestioned harbingers of what is to come, welcome or not. And all of a sudden, it's just right there at that purest wisdom. It is necessity, it is breathing, and you gasp it in because it is both too much and not enough. Where were you? Why weren't you always there? I needed you. The clarity is overwhelming. But you try to slow the rhythm of your breath. In, out. In now, slower. Already you are learning the lesson, even before you fully take it in. Another shutter is thrown open, yes. They take up space, they take over for a bit. They have cowed your mind and rolled your heart like putty only to leave you. And it's in that defeating thought at first until you realize that all of that rents space. They rent that space. Not purchased, no ownership. Who is the landlord in this crazy scheme we fashioned our lives to be? Who sets the guidelines? Now, who just decided to evict your ass? Errant thought. The key materializes, the door appears and opens, and you see the endless field of daisies dance just outside. How am I doing on time, Anne? Good. Oh, I see an extra hand. That was jarring. Oh my God, I was like, where's the hand coming from? Hey. So, those infuriating daisies, they appear to dance just beyond your reach, somewhere in that one comforting breath of existence that is not either of slumber or of waking. You open your eyes and reality supplants it. But in time, you learn patience and humility, that there is love, that seemingly elusive love that is a slow and steady simmer. and not the wildfire that diluted your youth. You will stop chasing it, believe me. You'll find peace. Not always an easy one, but you will find peace. So this next poem is called My Bones Rattle in This Cold. Under the weight of a love possible because, baby, we haven't even begun, but already we are crumbling, though in 10 years you will claim we haven't changed our tune since that winter of 2011. But I know better. Did you see what I did there? Are you still following, or did you dance and disappear like the steam on my radiator, darling? We play at transforming into a we and watch as that reality trembles. I sometimes wonder if stardust and magic can be a real thing like romantic people often say it is, as you lean your oven-hot body against me, and I gather up my skirts all of a sudden to pull you up, urge you to pick daisies with me in the dead of winter and make them into crowns. We toast them on dollar store lighters and say that we feast every day like queens. In this future, I see sooner in my head, lightheaded. I watch our loathing crawl underneath our skin. Do you see it too, babe? I think my hallucinations like to watch premonition lessons that come because isn't that what harder and leaner call for? A sacrifice where you belch and scratch in front of the telly and my hair color leaches away in disgust simply by looking at you. Our dreams on injured legs, not wings. Still we dance, a broken dance, an old dance that we don't quite remember all the steps to, but we are compelled to reenact. Our fond memories of the heat of our youth, when did they begin to puncture and release smoke? Let us vow to stay together now, lover, until an eternity, or at least until only our skin and bones remain to burn, until our words are buried alongside the passionate oaths that we swore when we were something else and not this, when we still wanted this you, then this me, before we lost all our cares. Do you ever experience that instance so vivid that you lead yourself to believe that they were a living, breathing truth in the now? I like to fancy that past lives tenaciously hold on to the present existence and that they want us to remember them. This one's called Lepidoptera. I think I collected butterflies once upon a time. Yes, I recall vaguely butterflies and dreams when hope was a fragile dewdrop imprisoned in my palm. I imagine it was the dream itself or something more sibling to a nightmare. I cannot conjure how dreams and hopes are born of this place, redolent of desertion and dust. In my wandering, listless bucket water thoughts, sometimes there is a single thought, a solitary space, shimmering and slightly off, elusive, where certainty prevails. It is swept away and forgotten soon enough, with all the pieces brave enough to cling. And finally, I wanted to end. So I entered this space that we're in right now, this virtual space, as I enter life. And this is, I took this line from the Wiccan Read, in perfect love and perfect trust. And so in this manner shall I depart, in perfect love and perfect trust. So a love poem to sweeten our time here together. This last one is called Laurel. This pen wants to tell you all the things that I am unable to. This pen wants to say that though I think things through to the point of painful and exacting, I also have a need for things to be just so, for this illusion that you see before you to be perfect. This pen yearns to charm you, but I am not clever in the turmoil of my verbal first draft. I orchestrate the contortion of my words until they writhe and they surrender to where I finally lay them down coyly parted, so you can glimpse the allure of all their secret meaning. I write myself down again and again, sort out the muddled pieces, and I become arrayed in my own thoughts, deceptively linear and simple, tempting you to follow me into the unknown. Elegant angles presented to fool the eye. I am hidden in plain sight, lines scratched out and rewritten. But the subterfuge of the pretty words that replace me divert you. This pen wants to tell you that sometimes I want to be left alone, but that doesn't mean that I do not like you, that I don't look for you with ravenous eyes despite myself. It doesn't mean that I can present myself. And Goddess help me. I try from jotting down impossible scenarios where you lean over to kiss me in the rain. This pen does not think to mention that I vowed to myself that I would never be the poet who wrote sappy, idiotic verses about love. You bring this side out in me, and I half resent you for it, curse you all the way to Hades and back, lover Orpheus. Lover, logophile, amor, aesthete, amor, Eurydice, amoret. At the end of the story, this pen wishes to turn me into the wolf daughter, stalking my goddess and the hunt. I spring off the page and emit the loudest howl. Ow! I chase after a teasing moon, not knowing where I am going, but my feet become sure as they feel their way in the darkness. I shriek in pure joy as my hair is caressed in passing by Daphne and her sister trees. Do you see my ink pool? Silver stream reflecting the stars? Shh. Do not listen to your head. Shed your hesitation, old bearskin, and hear me bay. Do not think, my beautiful Apollo, do not think. Pursue me. Thank you, folks. Ooh, my throat's really dry.
Bravo.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was
Bravo,
having a
bravo.
hug with words. Oh, it's just